Сайн байцгаана уу хүн үзэгчтэй. Өнөөдөр манай Defacto нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор One Championship холбооны дэд ерөнхийлөгч, холимог тулааны дэлхийн 3 удаагийн аварга, ноён Ричард Жэй Фрэнклин оролцож байна.
Ричард Жэй Фрэнклин, One Championship-ийн дэд ерөнхийлөгч. Америк нэгдсэн улсын Синсиннатигийн их сургуулийг математикаар бакалавр, боловсролын мэргэжлэр магистрийн зэрэг тус төгссөн. Синсиннати мужийн Оук Хиллс дунд сургуульд математикийн багшаар ажиллаж байсан. 2014 оноос One Championship-ийн дэд ерөнхийлөгчөөр ажиллаж байгаа бөгөөд Ultimate Fighting Championship буюу UFC-гийн дунд жингийн 3 удаагийн дэлхийн аварга. Түүний их амжилтыг UFC үнэлж 2019 онд алдрын танхимд албан ёсоор оруулсан байна. Тэрээр One Championship-ийн тамирчдыг сонгон шалгууруулах чухал үүргийг гүйцэтгэдэг хорооны гишүүн тул дэлхийн өнцөг булан бүрээр аялж, аюулслаг шин тамирчдыг нээж илрүүлэх ажлыг биечлэн хариуцдаг бөгөөд Монгол улсын тамирчин Пүрв, шин чагтаг нар One Championship-тэй грекийн олон улсын дэвжээдээр өрсөлдөж байгаа.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Welcome to Mongolia.
It's good to be here again.
Again.
Yeah.
The previous one was?
September 2019, just before the pandemic set in.
Wow.
Yeah.
What brought you at that time?
I was running work for One Championship. It's a martial arts company based out of Singapore, and I was running a program called the One Warrior Series, which was a travel show where I recruited athletes, and we would build episodes based on the athletes' stories as well as the culture from where they were from. So I had several athletes on my roster, came here to recruit more and then do episodes on all of them. So we came here, shot 3 episodes, and fell in love with Mongolian culture at the time.
Okay, so now this time what brought you here?
Well, the pandemic shut that project down because it was a travel show and travel just completely stopped for some time being. So I guess we've kind of pivoted now. This is a slightly different format, but this project we're doing is called Road to One. I'm here for this. We're working with Steppling Holdings on this. And what we're doing is we took 40 athletes, sequestered them outside of the city in a couple different shooting locations. We're shooting I guess you could call it a reality show with them, where they are in various situations, different challenges they had initially, and now they're sparring and competing for the top position to eventually earn a contract with One Championship.
And one of them will be contracted?
At least one.
At least one. And now this show kind of is getting finished.
The filming process should complete this week, and then they'll go into post-production, and the show will air sometime probably mid-September here in Mongolia.
Here in Mongolia, mid-September.
Yeah. And it'll lead to the November 26th weekend. There will be a 2-day event at Step Arena where the athletes, coaches, and some other fighters will compete. And from that competition, you will select particular athletes. To earn a contract for One Championship.
1 or 2?
At least one.
At least one.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about this Road to One, the idea, the concept, what is behind.
This is a unique concept here in Mongolia. We run Road to One projects, in other countries, but not like this. This one is unique because this is the first one that we've done like this, where there's a reality show. Initially, the athletes were taken outside of the city. They were taken to a military installment where they had to go through several challenges, and these challenges would either pass them on or eliminate them. And a couple of locations as well, but ultimately now they're in a facility that provides them with several gyms where they can work out, cafeterias where they can eat, and everything that they need. But they are sequestered from society. They don't have their cell phones. They have no contact to the outside world. And it's been that way for the entire taping process. So I can imagine that when you put 40 competitive individuals in an environment where they have nothing but to compete with each other, some issues can arise.
Well, who have selected those 40?
We worked with the gentleman at Step to select the athletes. They're on ground here, and they know the ecosystem of the athletes here in Mongolia better than we do, at least for a roster that's that in depth.
Being 3 times a champion of the UFC, how do you find the athletes here in Mongolia in terms of sportsmanship?
In terms of sportsmanship? Well, I can answer this so many different ways. I fell in love with the warrior spirit of Mongolia when I came here. It's prevalent not just in the fight game, but just in culture in general. The people of this country are the kind of people that will not they won't stop until they succeed. They won't take no for an answer. You see it in the cage when the athletes are fighting in the circle. They leave everything in the ring. There's they don't want to leave things to judges. They want to finish their fights, and that's one of the things that impresses me the most about the Mongolian athletes. Now, I'll say this. I've grappled with a couple different gyms in my various trips here, and the athletes in Mongolia know two speeds. It's either 100% or we're just relaxing. There is no
halfway.
No, there's no such thing here. I try to explain it when I'm instructing, and then I'm like, you guys got to slow down. So
either I do or I don't do.
Yeah, exactly.
Either I do completely.
Exactly.
That reminds me your fights in ring. I saw in the box, how you call it. And I have noticed one thing, unlike many other fighters. After very tough fight, as soon as it ends, you end with very much friendship. That your competitor or whoever was, you won, and then you were hugging. What makes that change? How it should be very tough, just you were fighting like hell, and then suddenly you are friends.
Well, people think that this is odd in the fight game because you just spent time in competition. In essence, what people believe is trying to hurt your opponent. But if I was playing a game of American football or rugby, I would be trying to hit my opponent or tackle my opponent, or it's a similar mindset, right? You're there to do a job. And so when you go into a competition, I've prepped for this competition, and so has my opponent. And we're both willingly going in knowing. I don't have any ill feelings towards him or any animosity. It's not emotional. It's just, I'm here to do a job. I've looked at film of my opponent. I've analyzed his ability to compete. I've looked at where my strengths and weaknesses match up with him. I've formulated a game plan, and I'm going to carry out that game plan. And so I don't have to hate somebody. I don't have to be angry at somebody. I always jokingly tell people I go into the gym every single day and punch my best friends in the face. For somebody that I don't know really well, I can easily, remove the emotion from that and do it on a Saturday night in front of the global crowd.
What is at which point you can completely switch off that emotion like this? Have you been like this at the beginning of your career, or when you have suddenly completely managed that emotion?
Well, first of all, I'll just say this. I think it's unique, or, fighters, they'll fall in various kinds of categories. I think some fighters are a bit more emotional than others.
Well, particularly I saw guys just before, facing each other, making such a face.
Pushing each other at weigh-ins and calling.
What is how you would explain that part?
Well, sometimes it's just marketing, right?
Yes.
If you and I are going to get in a fight and I call your mom bad names and you shove me at the weigh-ins, then people are suddenly excited to watch the fight. And which I've never quite understood this phenomenon, because realistically, whether you shove me or not, we're going to step in the circle the following day and try punching each other in the face regardless. So it really never makes a difference in the outcome. So
back to the initial question I stopped you, from when and how you stopped that emotion.
I think that so I'm a very cerebral person. I'm a deep thinker. Probably sometimes a little bit too much to my demise. I always say that sometimes our greatest strengths also happen to be our Achilles heels. And so, being the kind of thinker that I am, I have the ability to look at an opponent, create a game plan, break down film, find weaknesses, and do that not only for myself, but for guys that I might be coaching. And it's something that I do really well. Because I'm a deep thinker, I tend to hyper-focus on whatever my goal is. So I'll give you an example. As a competitor, being a professional athlete, for example, I've never had a drink of alcohol in my life because I'm very goal-oriented. And anything that was counterproductive to pursuing or achieving that goal got eliminated. So whether it was drugs, drinking, a girlfriend, whatever, It's once I become hyper focused on a goal, I'm going to eliminate things that get in my way of accomplishing that. This is also can be an Achilles heel as well. But what that allows me to do is really just remove emotion from what it is I'm trying to accomplish and approach it in a very logical manner. And I think that comes from my background in mathematics.
Yes, I believe. Before that, I would like to ask about your profession and the option for this championship. Before that, you said you never used alcohol. Is it your father culture? What is your background, home, family background of father?
I grew up in a Christian home as a young kid, and there was a lot of talk about not drinking, but that really wasn't what did it for me. And my views, I don't have any qualms with alcohol. But I think what happened with me at a young age is I was surrounded by substance abuse. And witnessing that as a young kid before I got into the experimental phase like most teenagers do in America, it just deterred me from ever wanting to drink. Mm-hmm. And then when I got into my later teenage years, I had been so involved in athletics my entire life that it was just counterproductive to any kind of success. So I never touched it. And then I just became the best friend that you could have in college because I was your driver to make sure you got home every night. I was that guy.
You have been a teacher of mathematics, and you made your bachelor in mathematics, and then you made your master in education. So this is a very unique and good combination, and the most unique is the third part of your combination is this UFC fighter.
Yeah.
And what made you to choose that option?
Well, I think, look, you live in Mongolia, and I think every young boy that grows up in this country probably dreams of being some sort of athlete, professional athlete at some point in their life, whatever their sport may be. And I always tell people that when I was a young boy, I dreamed of either being a professional athlete or a superhero. And I didn't have any superpowers, so I had to choose the role of athletics. I wasn't a great athlete growing up. So, I went to university and I studied to be a teacher, and I earned my undergrad and my graduate. I earned my undergrad in math, my graduate in secondary education, and that's what I thought that I would do for the rest of my life. Now, I was training when formal sport that you're typically involved in American high schools ended for me. I started doing martial arts just as a hobby. I thought, well, this keeps me active, and in case I ever have to defend myself on the street, this will help. And I started one martial art that led to another, and I was training just as a hobby the whole time I was in college. But little did I know I was sharpening the iron and refining this skill that would eventually one day become a profession for me. And so I always tell people that I love teaching. I think that's part of the reason why I have a podcast now. I like to impact people, educate people, make people think. So I do love the education process, and I actually like mathematics. I like problem solving. Give me a Sudoku book and I can sit there all day with one. Good game of chess, but I don't like teaching math, and that makes sense. I like teaching, I like math, but I don't like teaching math. And so given the opportunity to choose your life's first passion, which is sport, you're always going to make that choice. And it just so happened that the sport that I gravitated towards, that I believe that God designed me for, was martial arts, because American football I played my entire life, and I did not succeed at that sport.
American football also you tried, huh?
Oh yeah, I played American football from the time I was 8 years old until the time I graduated high school. That brings really a question for me to talk about sport education. How much is this important for young kids, and what is a good time, good age to start with? Well, I think sport education is really important, but not sport as much. When I think about my childhood growing up, I learned, I'm educated in sport in a very deep knowledge. I understand at least basic level, the rules of sports I've never played, more than casually. I understand the rules of tennis and the rules of volleyball and the rules of baseball and sports that I didn't play much growing up as a child, and I understand how to play all these games. So if you said to me, hey Rich, let's go play a game of tennis, I understand the rules of tennis, and I can play that game. And it's important. I think it's important from a social perspective, but I think just sports education, what really ties into that is nutrition and healthy lifestyle. And I think that this is important. teaching young people at a very early age that, you need to constantly be moving. And you need to take care of your body, because this is the body that's going to carry you for the rest of your life. Now, I'll say that on that note, I've probably taken sport to a level that's a bit unhealthy. I have my bumps and bruises, and at the age that I'm at now, like, I can feel my career kind of wearing on me a little bit, but it's important, and I still take care of myself. Like you can tell, I keep good shape. I probably look like I'm in better shape than I did when I was in competition, and a lot of that is the fact that I take care of myself nutritionally. I keep my body moving, but there are other aspects that are important in sport that we often overlook. The things like studying. The fact that if you are going to be an athlete, you need to prioritize a lifestyle and not be out partying and drinking and things of those nature. Life needs balance, and there is room for alcohol, but when it comes, there's time to work and a time to play. And understanding that, I think, is something that I learned at a very young age, just with sport education in general.
So when you go to parties, you never drink too?
No, never have.
Never have?
Never.
Another thing, for being athlete at your level, your strength, probably you had a bitter loss somewhere.
Oh, yes.
So what was your first loss? Complete loss, or you just, that changed your thinking?
I think it was my first 15 or 16 fights in my career, I was undefeated. I would have to look that up again. I can't remember, but I was undefeated for a long time, and then I lost a fight. I was overseas. I fought in Japan. It was quite devastating, and recovering from that. But it wasn't that difficult. Like, I don't remember that fight for me being as impactful. Is after that loss, my next fight was a win, and I continued competing. Eventually won the championship, and then ran into Anderson Silva, and fighting him for my third title defense, he took my belt from me.
How old were you that?
33, maybe 33, somewhere around that age. And I can just remember. I can remember just being. I didn't just lose that fight. I was demolished in that fight. It was a bad fight for me. And I can remember just sitting in my hotel room and thinking to myself, like, I kept asking myself the same questions over, like, how did this happen? How did I get here? How? And, you don't have those answers. And I talk a lot about failure. I've done a TED Talk that's entitled How to Be a Loser. And I talk about, basically it's a talk about loss and how you can learn from loss and what information needs to be extracted from that. And so, you go through an emotional process anytime there's a loss or a failure in life, whether you don't get a job promotion, you lose a sporting event, someone that you're close to dies, whatever. Anytime you experience a loss, there's this emotional reaction to it, and it takes some time to process. But ultimately, when you have these losses or these setbacks or these failures in life, you need to have a systematic way of extracting the useful information out of that loss, applying it to your life. And
it's also a part of success too.
Yeah, exactly. That's that's the whole thing. I mean, you're never going to succeed in life without failures. And if you do, then you haven't set your goals high enough.
Are you married?
No.
No. Planning?
I don't know. I leave those kinds of things in God's hands. Trust me. Every time I try to plan my life out, He's got something.
Plus, you are traveling a lot now, in particular in Asia, right now these days.
Yeah, but not as much as I was when I was here in 2019 and running the Warrior Series. I was on the road significantly, and now it comes in spurts. A little bit of travel here, then I'm back home for a bit, and I have U.S. endeavors that I'm taking care of for one championship as well. So it just comes in spurts. So I have a much better balance in life now.
Where are you based?
Cincinnati. I'm in
Cincinnati, your hometown.
Yeah.
Okay.
East Coast time.
You have already selected 2 Mongolians fighting now at UFC, right?
Well, technically we've selected 3 Mongolians here that are competing for one championship.
Okay. And another 2 to come, and they will make a contract for $100,000 US.
Yeah, it's more than $100,000, but yeah, it's a $100,000 plus USD contract.
I see. Then at the UFC, if you won, how much they usually win?
The paydays are on par between the organizations because they're both global organizations between one championship and the UFC.
Yeah. It's one organization.
No. They're two different. I work for One Championship. Yeah, UFC is a completely different organization.
Yeah, and those selected fighters from Mongolia will be fighting one championship, which is for Asia.
Correct.
Asia
It's a global organization. We have athletes on our roster from, I don't know how many, 150 plus countries.
What then the principal difference between two organizations?
Oh Lord, you ready? Here, let me go with this one. I mean, there's a lot of competitive differences. We have a different scoring system. We don't use a 10-point must scoring system. We have a different judging criteria. We don't allow our athletes to cut weight. We have a hydration protocol, which is different. I mean, these are things that are different than any other martial arts organization on the planet. I believe that our judging system actually pushes the athletes along with the hydration system, because athletes are competing at 100%, to have a higher finishing rate. I think when you look at an entertainment perspective of One Championship and you attend an event, it's like attending a rock concert and a fight simultaneously.
Okay.
You know, if you've ever been in stadium, and that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that us doing the Road to One here, that this will eventually lead to a full-on One Championship that ends up coming to Mongolia with an entire international roster showcasing that level of entertainment.
About keeping your body conditions in such a competitive way, what is your day? What is in terms of exercise, food, nutrition?
Yeah. So my nutrition's a little off while I'm here, and I've been the host that is bringing me around this week has been astounded by what I eat for breakfast every day, because I typically have about 14 eggs every morning. Yesterday I had quite a bit of dragon fruit, and then I had a bowl of like a granola oats on top of that. And so I consume quite a bit of food. I typically eat about 4,200 calories a day, five times at a minimum.
Wow.
And I try to eat about every 2.5 to 3 hours. And for me, keeping my body in peak physical condition, like maintaining my nutrition, is the most important thing for me. When I was competing professionally, I was in the gym probably putting in about 25 to 30 hours of physical work a week. Now I put in somewhere maybe between 6 to 8. Now, that's a significant amount of work still. It's about an hour a day that I typically do something, but compared to the way that I used to work out in competition, it's much less. But that's, I'm not doing that just because I'm keeping myself in shape. It's just a passion. You can't, even though I'm a retired professional athlete, like, you can't remove that first love from you. Old habits die hard, as I always say.
Well, nowadays, when I was younger, Schwarzenegger was the hero here.
Yes.
Yeah, and still for many people he is hero.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Do you know him?
Oh, I've met Arnold briefly. We on 2 occasions, and but just really brief introductions and hello.
I'm trying to have an interview with him for a long time, not succeeded yet.
Anyway. Good luck with that endeavor.
Is it difficult? It looks like.
Is what difficult?
To interview him, to find.
A guy like Arnold?
Yeah.
Oh, completely. I mean, think about not only has this guy been an international film star pretty much since he was a teenager, but the governor of California and everything else that he's involved in. I can't imagine, when you talk about a hectic schedule, what a schedule like his must be like.
Looks like, yes. Final question. You are interested as a mathematician, also for a part interested to know more or invest in coins.
Oh.
Cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, I do some crypto investing. Yeah.
How happy? How are you?
How happy am I right now? Well, right now this is a terrible time to ask me that question. Should I check the markets today real quick?
I have some too, so that's why I'm asking you.
No, listen. I think with crypto, I'm not personally a Bitcoin investor. I don't know. I'll say this: I've invested quite a bit in several different coins, but I look at the platforms by which they provide. Ethereum, for example, is one of my larger holdings, and I look at the Ethereum platform and what that platform is capable of doing. One of the things that people misunderstand about crypto is that you're investing in a coin, and you're not necessarily investing in a coin. Like, I don't think that I'm going to walk into a restaurant one day and somebody say like, oh, that's like, 0.5 ether, and I'm like, okay, bloop, and I pay for it that way. I'm not investing for the coin. I'm investing for the platform's capabilities and what it's able to do across the blockchain. So I probably sound a lot smarter about crypto than I really am, but I've done enough reading, I think, to make some important choose some decent coins. And so with that, I have my portfolio probably has about 8 different positions in it, and I just watched it tank. And I got into a lot of my cryptos early. I bought into Ethereum when it was under $120, and it shot all the way up to $3,600. And if I had a crystal ball, I would have sold high and then bought back in now and made a decent amount of money. But I'm in it for the long game. Like, I'm not a good day trader.
Keep that position.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking about that part, what's your opinion about the blockchain? Can it be the third level or third generation of internet?
I think so. I think that with blockchain, there's going to be there are pros and cons of blockchain, I think, and as this unfolds, and we'll see, from a transactional basis, like now you have nodes that verify transactions, and so it's more difficult to make things disappear. But when you want something to disappear, then it's hard. It's similarly very difficult because you have to do that across all the nodes. And one of the things I wonder about is how they're going to, with blockchain technology, for example, if somebody were to release a virus across the blockchain, how you actually stop that. Because if it moves across enough nodes and it gets verified, and it's going to continue moving. And so, these are technologies that I don't understand really well, but there are pluses and minuses with any of these things.
Some competitions down the road, big championships, some awards things, or to buy memorabilia, they use now tokens, coins. How do you find that part of big competition, big tournament down the road?
Well, okay, so you're talking about NFTs. And I think that when we look at NFTs, and we look at some of these NFTs, these art drawings that have been sold for crazy money, millions of dollars, and you sit there and like, why would somebody buy that for millions of dollars? I think that the potential for the NFT market will be more like this. Let's fast forward 10 years, and you and I are doing this interview, but we're doing it in the Metaverse. We're sitting in a studio. Now, in this studio, you're going to require a table. You're going to have an avatar. Your avatar is going to have a suit. That avatar is also going to have a pair of shoes. And we need chairs to sit in, and so on. And this is an NFT. This is an NFT. This is an NFT. This is an NFT. And they'll need to be purchased. And I think that that's the potential for NFTs. And these NFTs need to move across blockchains, whether you're using a blockchain like Algorand or Cardano or Ethereum or whatever that blockchain is. So when you make that purchase, like, oh, I want my avatar to wear this suit today, then you're going to have to purchase that NFT. And oddly enough, it's like we're going to end up recreating this digital world that is exactly like the physical world. The difference is...
spend a hell of money there too.
Yeah, the difference is that you and I, we can be sitting here doing this interview, and instead of somebody watching this on a television screen, like, or a computer screen on a video, they can literally drop into the studio themselves. So now you have to decorate your studio however you want to decorate it. If you want plants to be in here, pictures, you're like, I'd like to hang this nice Picasso. Well, that's going to be an NFT. And so, not every NFT will just be a one of a kind. Like, that suit won't necessarily be a one of a kind, but you'll need that suit and you'll need a dozen others.
That is the virtual world we're going to live also.
Yeah.
So we're kind of living in parallel world.
Right? And I think in the virtual world, there's, I was talking about this, the potential for this, when you think about it from a conceptual basis, philosophically, your avatar can be designed virtually such that it requires food, right? You have to purchase like a hamburger, which is an NFT, in order to fuel your
NFT
avatar.
makes that parallel world moving.
Yeah, exactly. And so we see these NFTs now as these weird artworks, but I think, I really believe that someday we're going to, be in the metaverse looking at completely different things.
How much it will impact on the business you are doing, like one championship? Will it be there or two? also.
I mean, who knows? You think about it, like at this point in time, like I think there will always be people that want to actually physically experience something, right? But the Metaverse will allow people to go to the Grand Canyon. The Metaverse will allow people to attend a fight. I mean, we have one championship. We have our fights. We record some of our fights with an Oculus system. It's a virtual system. And if you have the Oculus headset, then you can watch these fights virtually, and you immerse yourself in the arena, like you're sitting in the arena looking around. You can look up at the lights, and you can look around the ropes from your seated position and the way that this records. And so I think that as the Metaverse grows, you'll have the ability to, I don't know, buy a ringside fight, a ringside seat to a fight virtually.
It's a very exciting time we live, and a very exciting moment also for Mongolia.
I think it's scary, personally. I like the potential. Like, there's a lot of positive potentials. You know, you look at somebody who's paraplegic that would never be able to hike the Grand Canyon. They will now be able to experience it.
Yes.
But man, you can glorify what's inside the virtual world, but then once you step outside, you know, you're living in just this barren, you know, like the potential for this on the downside can be pretty bad, and we've seen how addicting social media and how it's affected our society. And you unleash things like this, and there's pros and cons to everything.
Rich, it was so interesting to talk to you.
I had a good time.
Thank you very much for your time, and good success in Mongolia with that project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the chat.
Thank you. За хүнд үзэгчдээ өнөөдөр манай Defacto нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор дэлхийн холимог тулааны 3 удаагийн аварга One Championship төслийн дэд ерөнхийлөгч ноён Фрэнклин оролцлоо. Баярлалаа.